Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a flesh and blood podcast, breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Derek and Logan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 107, take 2
and a half
of Flesh and Pod. My name is Logan. I am your host, and with me, as always, is I'm not his real dad. Is apparently the thing tonight. Derek Oswald. Okay, so Fappers, as your Fapton, I am owning this. By the way, Fapton is now a great title, but as your Fapton, I did promise myself that I would stop putting an emphasis on recording these weekly after episode 105, and here we fucking are at 107, and I'm still doing the same bullshit.
Listen, you're not addicted. You can quit whenever you want to.
God, I wish. Why? That's why. There will be no episode next week because it is Christmas Eve into Christmas and high holidays. We should take those off and enjoy time with our families. So the episode will probably still come out on time on Tuesday. But
yeah, I was going to say,
there's no real reason.
If anything, it's going to be the easiest time to record because I'll have nothing going on.
I will, but that's fine. It doesn't actually. Fuck it. Cheers. Any rate, a lot has happened in the last week of Flesh and Blood. I don't know. I haven't done any of it because I did do Armory this week. I did a Bright Lights Draft Armory, and I went 1-1-1. I drew round 1 because 3 Teklos, pretty close to each other. I wound up with no arms and too many 0 block Evos that don't do anything and not enough bases outside of legs. And so I fatigued my opponent, my max opponent, but I had to blow and block with my Evos in order to not die on the last attack, leaving me with just 0 cost yellow Evos in my deck, no attacks. He's at 1, and it's a draw. I can't do anything. So yeah, that felt great. But at any rate, so I did something in Flesh. Did you do anything in Flesh and Blood?
So kind of. Playing was not in the cards this past week. I had an incredibly stressful work week, just stressful mental week. I was not at my best. So playing was not in the cards, but I got all my stuff. Almost all. There's still like 1 or 2 things left, but I basically got everything sorted out for the Realm cruise where I will be playing Flesh and Blood on a boat. So in the near future, I will be able to answer this question. Yes, I played Flesh and Blood in international waters.
Correct.
But this week there was just so much going on with work. I'd been traveling so much the past month that when I came back, I had a lot to catch up on, and there were like several fires and personnel chaos, and it was just not a good week. Like that's just the reality.
I've been out for work unintentionally for longer than expected due to bereavement leave, and I do not look forward to logging in tomorrow at all. Like, I am really dreading this shit. But that's neither here nor there with Flesh and Blood. So let's talk Flesh and Blood. Has anything happened in the last week in Flesh and Blood?
No, I mean, it's been pretty quiet, right? There's been 0 news, no events.
No news, no events.
No new cards spoiled.
Nope. Except...
Which I don't even think you have that in the show notes, by the way. Oh, it is. It's on page 2.
Fuck yourself right now. It's on page 2.
It's on page 2, sorry. Because, again, there's nothing that happened. To talk about. So, naturally...
Right. And this obviously is a day that we're recording something extra. And then it was like, hey, now we get to record our regular episode. It's 11:30 at night for Derek, 10:30 at night for me. Great.
Yeah.
And we do this for you. This is all out of love for the FaB community.
Wrong. I do it for you.
Oh.
No, but not in a sweet way. There's a reason I will not let you let the streak die, because I know it causes undue stress. This is my psychological warfare. The love for the Flesh and Blood community that I profess week in, week out, all lies, just a psyop. It's really to torment you.
You're doing a hell of a job. I want to commend you on your work. It's fantastic. You really should do this for a career.
Yeah.
You should
Every time I hug Mara in person, it's because I hate you. Just know that.
It's like you're waterboarding people. Oh, beautiful. No notes. Thank you. I appreciate you. We did get there were events. So Battle Hardened Hanover happened. Mouth faster than brain for a second. And I believe it was won by Kano. I think I saw that correctly.
Yes.
Maybe that's just an assumption. Fuck it. We do it live. Derek's Googling it. But right now we're kind of in calling it a lull period is I don't think it's disingenuous, because we're getting 6 new heroes in short order. And LSS is doing the thing that I love and putting limited events on release weekend, which is an old Magic thing that was always gassed me up. Like, I was always just super happy to go play a ton of limited. I see you signing.
So Kano took Orlando.
The PTI in Orlando. Okay.
Yeah. No, that was Battle Hardened Orlando. I think you have that part crisscross. The other event was the PTI, and that's
right.
One
Yep.
that had a Kano in the top 8. It had, I remember, 7 different heroes out of the top 8, and Kano was one of them. The only double was Azalea. Trying to find the results on that one now, but that was the other one that I was thinking of, because again, there's just great events nonstop. It's just what we do.
But I like that. Not gonna lie, that gives us fuel, so I'm not mad about it. But let's talk about something. So this podcast has been going for 107 weeks, and for about 106 of them, we have been at least somewhat critical of LSS not telling us when shit is happening. Man, when they promised we'll be better, they weren't lying. They got
not lying.
Better by a lot, because we already know when U.S. Nationals is. That's insane. Compared to where, right? When and where U.S. Nationals is. This is completely different than our experience with LSS in the past. Because in the past, we would go to an RTN season, which we're not even in an RTN season, without knowing where we were qualifying for. Just we're on the cusp of it. So we found out that Nats was in Vegas on the Friday before US RTN season started. Because I remember, I will always remember this vividly, because I saw that because I planned on going to an RTN on the day after, and I was playing Frosthaven with friends, and phone starts blowing up, which always happens on announcements. And I saw that, oh shit, I can finally know where Nationals is. Oh my God, it's in Vegas. It's the one weekend I needed to fucking fade. God damn it. Well, I have one of these tomorrow, so I'm just going to go make top 8, get my cold foil, concede in the quarters, and walk away because I can't go, which is exactly what happened. And now we just know. So I can just say, if somebody's going to plan something on June 14th through the 16th, they can fuck right off, because I will be at that point, sunny Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thank you, LSS, for giving me an easily drivable U.S. Nationals. That is awesome for me. And there'll be a calling and a battle hardened if you don't qualify. It's like, it's the best thing possible. It's a 3-hour drive for me. I can leave after work on a Thursday and be good. So I can pick people up from the airport. I can be that guy. I can be the taxi. it's incredible. Everything kind of came up Millhouse all of a sudden. They also announced a ton of other stuff, but let's talk about Nats for a minute here, being in Minneapolis in June. So if people are unfamiliar with the Midwest, Minneapolis in June is going to be like 80 degrees and sunny. It'll feel awesome.
It'll feel awesome, and it'll also be, if you've never been to Minneapolis, a fun city to walk around. They do their best. America is not known for walkable cities, and so like I'm not going to say it's as fun as walking around, say, Barcelona or any of the European stops, but Minneapolis, even knowing that there is a winter that comes every year, they do their best to still make things accessible. So they have this thing called the Sky Bridge there, right, where you can still walk around from building to building indoors. And so you can basically still get that exact same experience, but walking around outside. But the point is that they at least have some level of walkability in mind in Minneapolis, which makes it more appealing than some of the other large cities in the U.S. It's actually pretty cool. I hate saying nice things about other places in the Midwest, because when you're in the Midwest, you kind of hate all other Midwestern
the rest of the Midwest,
locations.
yeah.
That's just like the nature of the beast. But Minneapolis is a pretty cool city, and I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, it's a town that I regret liking. That's the best way to put it. I despise the Vikings, and that has a lot to do with it. But it's actually a kind of a fun city. There's a lot of really good spots. I am more than happy to play Sherpa for people in that city, because I just know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. But there are so many people in Minneapolis that are Flesh and Blood players, that are awesome people to hang out with. And they will do a much better job than I would. So this is definitely one that I'm looking forward to heavily. I think it'll be a ton of fun. We also got a bunch of, we're going to be going on fast forward through a lot of this show, because otherwise we'll be 3 hours. But we did also get a lot of the quarter one callings announced. So we have the calling Hartford, which I will be at. I'm trying to make sure Charmer goes to Hartford, Connecticut.
Gonna do my best. That's all I can say right now. The biggest issue facing me, I guess, biggest two, but the biggest issues facing me and my plans for 2024 are travel funds and vacation time, because I have chewed through a lot of it recently, and I have to be very strategic for how I use it, at least in the first half of 2024. I'm planning on over the holidays, kind of mapping out the next 3 to 6 months, and then seeing what I need to allocate and where, and then I'll go from there. But that is high on my list because of a good friend of ours who just happened to also create some amazing art that's going to end up on a card, or at least the rumor is.
Let's get to that in a second, because I need the blood flow in my brain right now.
Okay.
So Carling Hartford, February 2nd through 4th, is Heavy Hitters Sealed on release weekend, which is one of my favorite things ever, is unexplored terrain. Like, everybody's on the most level of playing fields. Testing? Nah, we're not doing that, baby. We're going in and grinding. So, and also there's a Kasai. Like, what else could I want?
I mean, it's heavy hitters, right? Big numbers go burr.
Big numbers go burr. And to tell you how serious this is for me, so I had promised Az from Go Again Gaming and Living Legends podcast, a great dude, that I missed him in San Jose because I didn't go. So the next time he's in the States, just tell me and I will fucking be there. And so he's like, mate, are you going to Hartford? And I said, what's Hartford? And he said, it's a town in Connecticut. I'm like, I know that. What's in Hartford? He's like,
I'm sorry. Is this your what the fuck is a Tiguan moment?
Yeah, more or less.
A U.S. city.
But he's like, it's a calling. It's sealed. And I'm like, I'm in. I got it. I'm in. 6 hours later, I get a text from one of my best friends, the one that's getting married in March in Guadalajara. He's like, hey, coming to Iowa, weekend of February 4th. We're having my bachelor party that weekend. And I said, Sorry, buddy. Can't do. And that's because I made a promise to as degenerate human as I am, that I would be in a place that he and I could be as fucked up as we wanted to be. And by God, I'll be there because that's important to me. Also, so if you didn't know, one of our favorite humans in the world, Isawari Terianto, is an artist for Flesh and Blood. He has done many iconic arts. And what is your favorite Isawari art? I guess we should probably just get that out of the way. So just Arachne.
For me, yeah, it might be like if I'm going like absolute favorite, it's probably Arachne, specifically like adult Arachne. Just is fantastic. But I don't know, like it's hard. Like that one speaks to me because it's a hero, but like then I have to say to myself, you know, if it wasn't a hero card, is that the one that I would pick? And now you got me second guessing myself. Like if I had to say, like, I can only pick one,
I think I got him, folks.
it's really I really like Jack-o'-lantern, and I said that when it was revealed, and like I really like Jack-o'-lantern. And honestly, like, so here's the thing, I love the character Arachne, and I love the art that was done for the full like adult hero. But the other reason that I was pausing is because technically the first time we see Arachne is before that. But it was Vipox, right? And I love the art on Vipox too, because it's just like that sinister, like poisoning the teapot thing. And I was already drawn to that character. It's kind of like when you see, you know, the Jarl on Mangle, and you're like, I don't know who this is yet, but I love this character because of Mangle. Vipox kind of gave me that same feel. So like if I had to go with like an Arachne based art, it's probably actually Vipox. But I think my favorite just might be Jack-o'-lantern right now. Outside of I don't know. This new one
mine was the Breaker key art.
Yeah.
But now it's Ravenous Rabble, and people might be saying, but Logan, Isawari Terianto did not do the art on Ravenous Rabble, but nah, he did on the full art Ravenous Rabbles that are being given away in Queenstown and Hartford that we know of so far. If you have not seen this art, go fucking look at it. Oh my God. This is so insane. Like, this is holy shit levels of, okay, so I guess, I mean, it looks like a bunch of people at a rib buffet in the most morbid way possible.
So do you want to know, honestly, what sold it for me? Because when I first saw the Ravenous Rabble, like when they did the reveal on the extended card art, I was like, I love this art. I think you're naturally drawn to the two centerpieces, which is the, you know, person, whether they're alive or dead still, who knows, right? But the
doesn't matter
on the table, and then the primary person with the dagger, blood on her mouth, right? Like both of those very well done. But then later when he retweeted or reposted something where you have like just the full art piece, do you want to know what sold it for me? The tentacles coming through the walls in the background. That was like, okay, yeah, wait, baby. This is also like Lovecraftian horror in the background. I am 100% in. So yeah, if we're not, you know, before this, I think I would have probably said Jack-o'-lantern, but this Ravenous Rabble is his, in my opinion, his best work. He really outdid himself.
Okay. So the tentacles are insane. The fact that this is like callback art to Swarming Gloomvale is also incredible. And I don't know if you got to read, if you don't follow Isawari on Twitter, you're making a mistake. It's at IJVR. And he tells the story about going to the National Gallery of Art in DC and gleaning inspiration for these types of pieces. And then you can kind of see it. And that's incredible. It very truly is incredible. And I can't help but, you know, he talks about Dali and how that gave him some of the inspiration here. And I'm an art nerd. I mean, I'm not an art historian. I'm an art nerd. They're two different things. I can't tell you everything about your Enlightenment era artists or Renaissance artists or anything like that, but I can do some work. I'm not bad. And I appreciate things for their construction and composition. So I'm not knowledgeable, but I have a reason for what I'm liking what I like. The story behind Iswardi seeing everything in the National Gallery and then this piece of art is just, it speaks to me. So if you don't follow Ejor on Twitter, get off your fucking ass and follow Ejor on Twitter, because one, snappy comebacks are real good, and two, he also posts meaningful and poignant things like this that actually struck me, and I loved it. Derek, you want to say something? I'm going to let you, because I need to take a drink of this beer.
I was actually just thinking to myself, because I have an internal monologue, and I know you don't, that when you were like, oh, it struck you, and I was like, man, I want to. I wish I could strike you. But
do you?
I do, actually, yeah.
You do realize that I probably would hit back.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to end it all. I get it. Okay. Well, I mean, we all have plans. But and I opened up Twitter and I saw violence from James White, so I'm going to go ahead and leave Twitter open, because that actually is important for later. But yeah, we are 100% leaving this open. And I don't know, we could gush for probably, well, we've already gushed about this for at least 5 minutes, but I need a set plus of these promos is the sad thing. And I'm going to have to like really plot out how I'm going to obtain them without paying all of my money.
Well, if they're available at Hartford, this might be the thing that single-handedly gets me to show up.
They're in Hartford. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best, because that, especially after the ordeal I went through to get my La Sagrada Familia sigils, and I did finally, accomplish that after a lot of trial and error and a big ordeal in Barcelona. But it felt worth it to me, and so like now it's the same thing. Like I need, and I'm with you. I think I almost want more than a play set for the first time. I think for me, I want 4, because I would like to get like one signed and personalized with Iswardi, and then have like my playset for my deck, if that makes sense. So again, like I don't ever want to sound like I'm trying to be like greedy and take them away from other people, because everybody wants these beautiful pieces of awesomeness. But I think a playset plus 1 to personalize is where my headspace currently is.
So I need 6, because I need 3 for Classic Constructed. I need 3 signed by Iswardi for Living Legend, and then I need 1 that is signed by Iswardi for my artist binder, and then I also need the original art. So is that 7, or is that like 12? Or is that like 20? I guess I don't know. But that art is currently also my computer background, so there is that. It's really good.
It's really good.
It's really good. The pinks, purples, all the hues,
the tentacles.
The tentacles. It nails every kink you'd ever want, including the open ribcage, which is something people are into.
I mean, I have a really big tickle fetish, and so if you can give me not just 1 but 10 tickles, then I am all in.
You have a tickle fetish?
Yeah, especially when it's 10 tickles.
Is this what? Now I hate you even more. I didn't think that was fucking possible, and here we are. You decided to choose. Not James White isn't the only person choosing violence tonight. Derek Oswald is choosing violence, and I want you to drown in your own piss, you smug fucker.
I just want to shout out to James for not pulling punches on Twitter. By the way,
he does not.
I love the violence tonight.
Exactly. I am signing up. That is one of the things. Not to get on too much of a tangent, which we already are, so I guess it doesn't fucking matter. But one of the things I value the most about James White is that he understands his role as a public figure and then completely renounces it and just speaks his mind. And that is fucking phenomenal. I will never not love that guy for that, because talk how you want, man. Say what you mean. Don't beat around the bush. Just fucking come out and say it. And I love that Brian has taken that cue too, and he just does it too. And Brian's never been one to really hedge too much on what he means.
That being said, I think part of the reason that he has also continued to be as transparent as he is because LSS supports him even after he was hired on. You know what I mean? Like that, even before, tonight, where James White is being very direct, which again, I applaud. I appreciate it. You can just tell that it was one of those things where they were cool with it, right? They want him to be transparent and do those things. And as direct as either of them can be, I also think that they are, for the most part, they're doing still things with the right level of tact as well. It's not like they're being mean-spirited or anything. They're just not pulling punches. They're saying, like, look, this is just our mindset right now, right? Like, why try to give you some sort of like corporate workaround to try to pretend like we're playing all sides? Like, this is the way we feel. If it doesn't align with like what you think, that's fine, but we're telling you this is the way we feel, and this is the way that we're going to take the game forward. Might change in the future, might not, but right now this is the way we feel. And I think that more game developers, not even just card games, but just in general, would really benefit from just saying it's okay for our stuff to not be for everybody, but this is the way we are approaching this.
And I think that's great. Like, personally, I think that approach is one of the things that endears LSS to the community. Is they will respond to you. They won't pull punches. And if you have a legitimate concern, they'll address it. They'll make change. They'll be better. But if they don't agree with you, you'll know it. And that's important. It's important to know the why. And they're not afraid of giving that to you. That's just awesome for me as somebody who deals in context, whose entire built-in thought process, because I don't have an inner monologue, as you pointed out earlier, is almost entirely built on context. It's about facts I know from prior experience or knowledge a priori, or from what I've read and learned across time, right? And that's the only way I can glean anything. So if you're telling me exactly what your thought process is, it opens up a new world to me to be able to understand things. And that's, I mean, refreshing is the wrong word. It's way more than refreshing. It's invigorating. But moving on a little bit, we do know that there will be callings in Liverpool on February 9th through the 11th, which is also heavy hitter sealed, as well as the calling in Warsaw from the May 10th through the 12th. So Warsaw would be fun too, not going to lie. But I don't think that I'm ready to go to Warsaw for a calling when there's a pro tour in Amsterdam. Just going to throw that out there.
So this is why I was very clear about my two issues holding me back, because I really want to go to both. Just like straight up, I really want to go to both.
I know you love Poland.
I've actually never been. Flake loves Poland.
And that's right. Flake loves Poland.
He's only ever said nice things, and it's because of his enthusiasm that I desperately want to go. But there's also some really cool Flesh and Blood players that are in Poland. You know what I mean? So like, I just know it would be a good time, and I really would love to go to that one. But I'm also, after my wife had such a good time in Barcelona, I was trying to con her into going to Amsterdam as well. So I don't know. We will see.
Yeah, like this right here, this thing right here is my wife's passport. I'm not going to open it to the identification page, but that means I can con her into going to Amsterdam. But very important piece of information there for everybody. We also got a little bit of a clarification on calling formats, which is somewhat interesting. So going forward, classic constructed callings will account for 50 to 60%. Limited callings will account for 30 to 35%, and then all others, so Blitz, Team Sealed, and Living Legend callings, and they did point out Living Legend callings, will account for 10 to 15%. So a couple of things. One, these percentages do not add up. And two, I think that this is expected. This isn't groundbreaking, right? We kind of just know, and I'm really hoping that those limited ones that we see in there that they label as the 30 to 35% are tied to release weekends. That is my hope. I think that would be the best play. What did you take from this, if anything?
I said this before we started recording, but I will repeat it for everybody. I took away that this is a bit of a nothing burger now. However, there was a time like a year ago, if you would have said, hey, at the start of the year, LSS is going to give us the rough percentage of what the, calling formats and, overall big event formats are going to be, I would be excited because we don't normally have that info. However, this feels like a nothing burger because the year they finally gave us the breakdown, they also gave us the schedule from like January to August, which has just never happened. So it's like all this percentage breakdown does is give me like some idea for what the last 3.5 months of the year are going to be because we have everything else. So I appreciate it. Again, they're just under promise, over deliver. Good customer service. They're killing it in that regard. I appreciate all they do, but it is funny because this is something that I would have like chomped at the bit for even just a year ago. And then because they came and really hammered us with one hell of an OP announcement, this part feels like an afterthought. Yeah.
It does. And I'm glad that we have that out there so we can kind of glean a little bit of knowledge for go forward. Like, so if you're saying that 30 to 35% are going to be limited, that is not involved in Team Sealed, so they are separate, which is important, then that means that, to me, that says, okay, release weekends. And I'm here for it. Like, that's awesome.
Also, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat for a minute. Okay.
You're wearing it all the time.
I'm going to put on an extra layer.
Okay.
We're going to twice bake this potato. I would like to think that because they used the word limited instead of sealed, that they are at least prototyping or trying to figure out how to do a draft calling. Because that's been one of the big pieces of feedback. And because they are purposefully going with limited instead of saying like sealed. Because and this is what made me think of it, right? When you talk about the team events, they don't say team limited events. They say Team Sealed.
Right.
But this is limited. And yes, it's probably just holdover because that's, standard TCG terminology for like the last 30 years in that regard. But part of me holds out hope that is something that is still on the table because I love draft.
So I think that there's an understanding that's out there that, well, two things really, that sealed is the casual cousin to draft, which is just true, right? Sealed, your pool can just kind of guide you to where you need to be. You don't really need to make decisions in a lot of ways. Bright Lights was worse than most because you played your best 40 cards. And because Bright Lights was set up in a way that the less packs because you had the same class across the board, it made for a more homogenous experience in Sealed to a degree. And so the best pool was usually going to win in a lot of cases, unless it was piloted in a way that, piloted to losing or was built incorrectly. Draft is obviously the more skill intensive thing where you need to make decisions in draft. You need to consider deck building while drafting, which is also hard to do. And I believe that LSS wants the callings to feel more competitive overall, where the cream, as the Macho Man would say, always rises to the top. That's more of a draft thing. And I firmly believe that the reason limited is in there is so sets like heavy hitters and then potentially the other set this year that is going to be a multi-class set will have sealed callings. And then your single class set that will come this year, and I believe there will be one, will be your draft calling. So I think that there is a line drawn, but that's why it says limited, because they understood, okay, bright light sealed, kind of shit. And the reason it is because of how homogenous it is, but bright light's draft is actually fairly deep outside of being one of those people who just forces tech low like me. But the part of this that is interesting to me is I think that they figured the thing out, and there are incredibly smart people at LSS, so it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Like I said, I'm holding out hope.
I love you with hope, because that means that eventually you'll be let down, and then I get to revel in it. And that's wonderful. And that, you know what? I can't even sell that, because you being disappointed actually makes me sad. And I don't want to be sad. I'm one of the few people in my life of my inner circle of people that doesn't want to be sad. I fucking hang out with a bunch of sad
I'm
sacks.
not sad. I'm just disappointed.
Okay, I'm moving on. Fuck you. Sticking in Q1, we had a slew of Q1 battle hardens announced. The first one being in Cincinnati, January 5th through 7th, will be on a boat. And so will not be there. However, you should go. I do know that the head judge is the venerable Teague Watson. Okay. So this will be held. What?
It's just the way you said it. I want to clarify. We will be on a boat. Right. You said it very quick. And so if somebody is not watching the YouTube, maybe they couldn't read lips. I don't want somebody to have heard thus saying that the Cincinnati Battle Hardened will be on a boat. No. That will not be on a boat. We will be on a boat.
Derek and I will be on a boat. It's a big boat. It's like 1,100 feet long. This will be held in Cincinnati, Ohio, not on a boat. Moving on. We also have Manila, February 2nd through 4th, and won't be there. Philly, March 8th through 10th, doubtful. DFW, so Dallas Fort Worth, March 15th through 17th, I will be in Mexico. And then Atlanta, April 5th through 7th. Yeah. I guess. I mean, it's there. Maybe. I don't know. I have a hard time with Battle Hardened sometimes because they basically have to be drivable for me to consider it. I'm not going to fly to a Battle Hardened. That's just...
I will go to literally any of these as long as I'm hired to cast them.
Sure. And great. If I'm paid to be somewhere, I will also be there. Okay?
I guess.
All right.
Listen, I know you're saying that like that should be a very obvious statement, but I know several people that are like paid to be places and then they're still not those places. So,
like, I don't think I want that question answered.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. After Dark, baby.
After Dark. Okay. Which will be coming up soon, actually.
Yeah.
We'll probably be about a week out, is my guess. Is After Dark will be... let's look at the calendar. We'll probably do After Dark on like Wednesday the 27th is my guess. So like 10 days.
Yeah. I mean, that black hole right between Christmas and New Year feels...
I love that black hole.
Perfect.
That is my favorite hole.
It's my second favorite black hole.
Next to Black Hole Sun?
Black Hole Eagle, baby.
Oh, Black Hole Eagle has saved me so many times. Mainly because they don't open their mail. But the next big piece of news that came out with that same announcement was they are phasing out XP invites for the Pro Tour. So with Pro Tour Amsterdam, your avenues for qualification are to win a Pro Quest. Okay. Redeem a PTI. Sure. Either you purchase one to redeem, one's gifted to you, who's doing that, to redeem, or you, I guess that's the two things, right? You redeem one or you gifted one to redeem. And the other one is the top 75 in the world of total ELO, which is completely different. So prior to this, you had to be top 50 in either limited or constructed. Now it's top 75 overall. So if you're like, let's say number 3 in limited and number 300 in classic constructed, that ain't it. You need to be on the top 75 full stop. I actually don't know what they're going to use as an aggregator. It's supposed to come out sometime after the first of the year to show people where they exist. And according to the article, I'm talking super fast because we're 40 minutes in and we are not even close to done. But according to the article, they have been tracking the total ELO the entire time and waiting basically to roll this out. So I've seen a lot of takes on this. I don't know what's a hot take and what's not in this case because I haven't qualified, period. And this doesn't affect Nats or anything else. So from what we understand, your qualification for XP for Nationals is still the same. But what do you think of them eliminating XP invites for the Pro Tour?
Again, I have never been invited based on XP. However, my overall take on this was that this is likely net a good thing. I say net because obviously there will be people that this will impact, and not every case is the same. And there was going to be nuance to this regardless of however it pans out. But the reason that I think this is net good is one, I think it helps to reduce camping. So for example, if you're like top 5 limited ELO and then your constructed is like Garbaggio, then you could just never play limited stuff, but do whatever you want in CC or vice versa. This encourages people, like, if you want to compete, you got to always keep it in mind and compete. It also discourages manipulation. Now, I'm not saying that this has happened or that there's any proof or whatever, but theoretically, the XP system could have been exploitable, right? If you live in an area where you're, buddies with 2 or 3 LGS owners and, they put you down as winners, or you show up and you're Dagon White at a MetaZoo event, aka the competition is soft, and you just keep sweeping, and you're granted, like, you're a road warrior. You might be playing, 3 armories a week. You're doing the thing, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that you are like in the same caliber, right? I might be the best example of that. Like, I can go and not to say that I don't have good players locally, but like if I want to try hard, I'm usually pretty good with, like, I can either, win an armory or a local pre-release or whatever if I want to go do it. Most of the time I'm just out to have fun though. But that doesn't mean I'm a good player, and I know that about myself. So I think this change is net good because it helps to reduce XP manipulation or false positives. It encourages play instead of camping. The last reason that I think that this is probably net good, right? And this is entirely instinct, right? I don't have any proof of this, but I feel like them making this change now means that the player base has grown enough that they don't have to do it on XP, that they have enough both players and data to support the move to ELO. Like, they're very clearly making this change for a reason, but part of that is also, in my opinion, that, they've got the player base to support it. So even though it's not something that was necessarily directly mentioned or called out, that's, again, my instinct. That's my gut feeling. So I think overall this will net be a good thing. But again, I can fully understand if you're somebody who used to get on XP. Now there's more emphasis on winning. I can see where people will fall through the cracks or feel left out, and I empathize with those people. There is the reality is there is no universally good decision when you're making changes like this, but I think that this will help make things just feel more intuitive overall, in terms of, like, you show up to compete for the events you should compete for. And that's what this is promoting.
So, yes, if you go back 80 or 90 weeks, this is actually a conversation that Jordan, Abby, and I had on the show, where I'm pretty sure that I said, I believe that the XP system exists until the ELO system is enough to cover it. Until we have the player base and we have enough going on globally so that ELO is enough of a system, because at that point in time, almost 2 fucking years ago now, I've been doing this too long, that it wasn't. You know, we were one of 4 Flesh and Blood podcasts at that point in time, in reality. And the player base was small, and it isn't anymore. They've grown in such a way that we're past that. Now, I do get that there are underserved areas. They are newer areas, specifically South America, I think of, because I'm not criticizing anybody here, but it feels like the support for them is lacking at this point in time. But at the same,
I don't know the logistics of it, but I do know, not even just in physical card games, but also in digital card games, there's always some sort of disconnect or hang up when it comes to serving South and Latin America.
It
and
was
so
the same thing in Magic. Yeah.
I don't know if it has to do with international politics or what, but there is definitely something that always happens to hinder or hamper the ability to expand there. And not because there's a lack of players. I will tell you from covering digital card games that players from Brazil, for example, Brazilian players are really, really good at card games and they are passionate.
Yeah,
so
that's the biggest thing.
That there's not a draw. There's just something else involved, and I'm not educated or experienced enough with that international interaction enough to know what it is, but it's been there across like every game I've played.
Right. But that just goes to speak to, like, so a lot of the underserved areas are like, we don't have events here to gain ELO. But the other side of me is like, right, but do you really have enough events going on to also generate enough XP to be on the worldwide XP leaderboard? Because it seems like if you don't have enough going on ELO wise, you probably don't have enough going on XP wise either. Unless
there's potentially manipulation.
Unless there's manipulation.
Right. And so, and again, like, I'm not saying that happened and I'm not trying to call anyone out. I'm just saying that that has always been a concern of mine because, you know, especially when you're talking about XP, which goes all the way down to the armory level, you're kind of like putting the stores on the honor system. So,
right. Which hasn't always worked out.
And we've all, like, again, I'm not going to name names or anything, but we've all been to a store where we've thought, like, I don't know if this owner's on the up and up, right? Whether it's like giving deck lists to their favorite players,
they might fight me in the parking
lot on a Wednesday a.m. Like, we've all been there.
Why wasn't it at the Denny's? He could have taken it to the Denny's.
Like,
that parking lot's just a fight club.
They don't have them really here in Michigan. This was in a place where like Waffle Houses are available.
Oh, fuck yeah, let's go.
You know?
Like, yeah, you can definitely swing in a Waffle House. That's 100% acceptable. Like, fuck.
Heavy hitters pre-release at a Waffle House.
Waffle House. Magic's got their IHOP tie-in right now. We need the LSS tie-in to Waffle House for heavy hitters.
Perfect. No notes.
No notes. I'm here for it. I feel like we have finally found the tie-in that matters, and that is FaB X Waffle House. Like, bring the beats. It's either gonna be wreck your colon or wreck your face. You're gonna get it one way or the other. Maybe both if you're lucky.
I was gonna say, why not both? .gif?
Why? ¿Por qué no los dos? And yeah, so I think ultimately this is what I expected, right? And this comes from, again, James White is a Magic guy originally. He played a lot of Magic during the period in which ELO mattered in Magic, as did I. So this makes a lot of sense to me, because he's actually being the LSS is being way more liberal with ELO invites than Magic was. Like, there wasn't 75 or 72 or whatever ELO invites like in Magic. You had to be better than that. So this is, I think, completely reasonable. I don't think this is out of left field at all. That's my personal opinion. So we got slapped with, I'm not going to call this a surprise banned and restricted announcement because it was a planned banned and restricted announcement. I just didn't plan on it having any substance. But
really? Okay.
I was wrong. Well, it's kind of a dead period, but I do realize the next one isn't until March. So this begins to make fuck off. Begins to if you're wondering why I told him to fuck off, which nobody should. I did put in the Discord quickly that I want you all to understand the horrible pain I go through every week laboring through Charmer and his fucking puns. And so then Charmer sends a "you are my butter half" gif with a piece of toast hugging a pat of butter. And I just want to die suddenly. But anyway, back to the BNR, no longer BNS announcement, by the way. That is important to note here too. But there's a lot in this announcement. And I was surprised by it. Not disappointed, just surprised. So we're going to start with Commoner, which is everybody's favorite format, I guess.
I actually really like Commoner.
I never got into it. I just haven't been able to. But this is even more of a reason for me not to, because Stubby Hammerers, which I have a cold foil of, is no longer playable basically anywhere outside of Living Legend, is banned. Mm-hmm. And Amulet of Ice, which I have cold foils of, which are theoretically playable in Living Legend, but not really now, are also banned. I'm going to guess that that's probably just the right decision. Because
100%. In fact, when I saw this part, no joke, I went, wait, stubbies were still legal in Commoner? Because and my LGS has done some Commoner stuff, and I don't think I even included stubbies back then because I was like, there's no way this is legal, right? Like, I don't even think I looked at the list. I just thought to myself, like, can't be legal, right?
Yeah, that's up there with Plunder Run being legal in Blitz. I just forget that Plunder Run is legal in Blitz. And it's usually after I've built the deck that I'm like, oh, fuck, Plunder Run's legal. Ship it. And I just walk away because, I mean, until Kasaya is back, I don't really care too much.
Plunder Run being legal in Blitz is the reason that I think that aggressive Riptide is totally viable in Blitz.
Okay, so if Trap Riptide is Driptide, is that Griptide?
We've been through this. It's Let It Riptide.
Let It Riptide. That's right. Yep. Okay. I just forgot. Just my brain decided to not work. I'm like I said, I think I don't know one way or the other for Commoner if this is a good idea. I know what the text of Stubby Hammerers is though. And the fact that that was still legal, probably why I didn't play Commoner. Just gonna put that out there. Because holy fuck, that's kind of busted. In Blitz, which is a format of Flesh and Blood, for those who are wondering, Aether Wildfire and Stir the Aether Winds, which were previously banned, are unbanned. I guess that's Emperor, if they want to play them.
Yeah, I think that's it, right?
Yeah, it's the only wizard. So I guess it's pretty safe. The bigger announcement is I was right. I want to go ahead and make sure that I get my one. And Centauri Sabers are the new Kasai signature weapon. I figured that would be true. And I had a lot of people saying, oh no, they'll print something else. Like, they've already shown us the fucking token version. And like, that's for like a PvE product or something. I'm like, no, that's the weapon. And here we are. That's not to say that there won't be a different weapon. That's to say that's the signature weapon. And I figured they would roll that into the new Kasai, which is what they did. It is important to note for people playing Blitz events until February 2nd, which I believe is the release day for heavy hitters, that until that day, Centauri Sabers is still LL'd with original Kasai. So if you are playing Sabers Bolton in Blitz, nah, you don't get to. That is not a thing. You have to wait until February to get your Sabers back. But then, go nuts. Lumina away. No one, that's totally fine. Okay, you ready for this shit?
I'm very ready.
All right, let's go. So, Living Legend had some changes. It's a long list. Bear with me. These cards are all restricted in the Living Legend format, meaning that they're effectively legendary. You can only play with one copy of these cards in your deck. They are Awakening, Channel Lake Frigid, Crippling Crush, Hypothermia, Oakenold, Starstruck, and Warmonger's Diplomacy. Okay. So we're going to kind of take these in pieces. We're going to start with the 4-pack of Awakening, Crippling Crush, Oakenold, and Starstruck.
Mm-hmm.
What do these have in common, Derek?
These are all targeted Star of the Show bands. Well, restrictions, which I appreciate. However, I think that these are great choices for the format overall, because you still get to do your fun things, and there's technically, by going with the restricted route, there's no cards that are truly unplayable. They're just not playable in multiples, which I appreciate. It's a very vintage feel for, going back to the Magic thing when we talked about with James being a Magic guy. So I dig it. But I might have a hot take. I might have a hot take. I don't know. My brain's going faster than my mouth now, just like yours was earlier, because I get kind of excited here.
I can tell you're humming pretty hard.
I had been saying that one of the problems with Star of the Show when you got to Living Legend was that you kind of had too much you wanted to run. And I had been saying that Crippling Crush probably doesn't even make the cut, because I think Starstruck was just better. So yeah, these hurt, but also this might actually make deck building easier.
So
because now you free up slots for some of the other stuff you wanted to run anyway, instead of just running, 3 Oakenolds, 3 Starstrucks or whatever. Now it's you just you run the one of each and then you fill in the rest.
Yeah. So this harkens back to the first wave of Starvo bands back in CC. Again, 80 weeks ago, because I've been doing this for too fucking long. And the first wave I went, because it was the Awakening ban. And I was like, so this feels a lot like the Bridge from Below ban in Hogak in Magic, where they banned a card and it made the deck better because people stopped trying to force include the card. And here we are again. So Crippling Crush, you can play one of. Okay. Starstruck, you can play one of. Sure. Oakenold, you can play one of. Okay. Which Oakenold is kind of a hit, but then you can just kind of treat Crippling Crush and Starstruck as your Oakenolds, right? So you're still at 3 Oakenolds. And then it's okay. And then Awakening, which I didn't like playing in the first place. And then you get an entire set of Guardian shit that's designed to hit hard coming. Did we do anything? I mean, really? Did we do anything? I'm not entirely sure. Like, I have questions.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the hype. So like the other bands here, like we'll walk away a little bit. So there's the two bands of Channel Lake Frigid and Hypothermia. The reasons for these bands were, they were actually Warmongers too. We might as well just lump them all together. They were restricted because of how much they kind of crippled different decks. So Warmongers obviously cripples the living shit out of Runeblade. It makes it virtually unplayable if they can just park a Warmongers and wait, which is part of the article. Like they do call that out. Hypothermia basically says, yeah, FaB, your go off turn, you decided to play an Art of War. That's on you. Go fuck yourself. Channel Lake Frigid, just the text on Channel Lake Frigid should just say, go fuck yourself. That should just be the text on Channel Lake Frigid. Go fuck yourself for X turns, where X equals the number of times you can put a cascading number of ice cards on the bottom of your deck. For so many decks. The fact that like fully powered Briar, fully powered FaB, these decks weren't making a dent kind of speaks to a lot of that. The only thing that I'm kind of like, from an external perspective, a little bit like maybe you went a little too hard about, is this does basically end like Icelander from being possible in Living Legend. It hurts it really bad. I don't necessarily as a person hate that because fuck Icelander. But I mean, not to the level of fuck Prism, but don't enjoy playing against Icelander.
Right.
But I think that's the point. And here, everything else makes sense to me in a vacuum. Like Warmongers being a single copy, Dustblade Chain, Briar, all back on the table. Even Prism, which I hate, kind of comes back on the table because of that. Starstruck, Oakenold, Crippling Crush, they're just disruption pieces. And there are other disruption pieces you can play in Starvo. Just going to go ahead and put that out there. They're not the only things. And we have a Guardian set coming that is probably going to have some disruption pieces. Okay. And people who are upset from the Oldham perspective, you do realize that Endless Winter in Oldham was in a lot of ways, in most ways, better than Oakenold, right? Like, just play Endless Winter. Losing Channel Lake Frigid matters a lot for that deck. Yeah. But I don't think it's the end of the world. You can still play a good fatigue oriented with some big haymakers, Oldham and be fine. But otherwise, like, I think this is a good idea. I think that this makes sense to say, okay, we have one hero that's causing a giant problem. If we just nerf this hero, what happens? Well, the aggressive decks think they can bubble up and do something, but then there's Icelander, so they can't do anything. And the Rune Blades are still just wrecked by Warmongers. Okay. So let's dial them back a piece. And now what happens? Oh, you now have 12 viable decks. Well, that's way better. And I understand as somebody who loves playing Starvo that this hurts. This isn't great, but this is it's bringing the power level to where it should be. In order, because Star was a fucking mistake. And I would also venture to say that Icelander is close to that. Not the power level, but the mistake level. And hitting that doesn't hurt my feelings. But making it so that you have a swath of decks that become possible is better for the overall health and really goes more towards identifying in Flesh and Blood what a quote-unquote vintage format would look like. This makes sense to me, and overall, I think this is just good decision making. What say you, Derek Oswald?
I Overall, really like the list because I think so. Like, here's the hard part, right? If you are an Icelander player, you hate this. Like, just full stop.
Oh,
This
yeah.
doesn't feel good. So I empathize with you, Elsa fans. I really do. And so the next
Just
part that
let
I'm
it
going to
go.
say, the next part I'm going to say is going to hurt. But I was going to say I think you have to let this one go because these changes will open up the Living Legend meta more than it would have been without them. And I am this might be my hot take, but I am of the opinion that if you were to just ban Starvo, which one I think defeats the entire purpose of the Living Legend format. Like, the whole point of Living Legend format is that you're supposed to play any of the heroes. Like, all the heroes are supposed to be available. So that just feels bad to me. But if you were to just, like, hypothetically say, no other changes listed here, but you're just going to ban Starvo, I think that you still end up with a very lopsided meta. And it might go from 1 deck to like 2.5 decks, but it's still not getting better. And I think that these changes overall, yes, it hurts Icelander a lot, basically kills her in that format. But when I look at the rest of this, I think that Oldhim is still technically playable. I think that Starvo is still technically playable. And I think that, like, the Warmonger's change is going to make Chain and Briar more attractive. And overall, I think you're just going to see more representation. So that being said, there are some pieces of information that I also want to talk about and kind of highlight. One is there is obviously collateral damage here, right? So you know who really gets boned by this more than Icelander?
Bravo Showstopper.
Bravo Showstopper.
Yep.
Bravo Showstopper just doesn't exist in Living Legend.
Fucked.
And this is coming from somebody who loves Bravo Showstopper and yet still totally fine with this. I get that you want to play your favorite hero in any format, including Living Legend. But there are going to be times in this game's history where your favorite hero is just not playable in the format you want to play it in. Like, that's just a truth. And it's unfortunate, but this is one of those times. Right now, Showstopper, like, if you were bringing Showstopper to the Living Legend format, I'm not saying you could, like, not still even expect to do well. I just think that, like, going into that you were already handicapped. And so this is just kind of like taking any illusion of fairness out of the mix. I think that it becomes too poor of a player experience or too clunky if you start doing specific ban and restricted announcements on a per hero basis. I think it's just like too much record keeping, and you know, as they've been trying to simplify things overall for players, I think that would be a step in the wrong direction. Because when you think about the changes they've made recently, whether you're a fan or not of them, it's very hard, in my opinion, to argue that they don't make things easier for a player to keep track of, right? The blitz changes, and when things are Living Legend, for example, yes, did some players like lose their favorite hero week 1 of the skirmish season and it suck? Potentially, but also knowing that once something Living Legend, you don't have to worry about, well, is it the end of skirmish season, ProQuest season? Is it like, no, it's just next week. Just full stop. It's next week. Don't have to think about it. Your hero hit the point threshold. Boom.
Glue
next
factory
week,
for your hero.
gone. Similarly, I think that when they changed it from ban and suspended to ban and restricted, they're just saying, like, look, there's no point in like beating around the bush and calling something suspended and giving you a timetable. We're just going to say, hey, it's banned for now. And then when it's not, right? Simplification. Nice, easy. You don't have to worry about what the language is if you're a new player. It's just, is it banned? Yes or no? End of discussion until a later date. And so I think that if you go through that lens, the idea of trying to do hero-specific stuff ends up being more housekeeping than it's worth. And I know it's going to be hard to hear, but the number of players that benefit is going to be greater by a pretty large margin, mind you, than the number of players that this will negatively affect. And again, this is somebody who loves Bravo And I know that there are other Bravo diehards, the Kales and the Clarks, and, shout out to all you guys. I love you. But at the end of the day, like, the number of people that this hits negatively is nowhere near the number of people I think that this is a positive for. So Bravo, like, he gets absolutely destroyed. Showstopper anyway. You're not playing him in Living Legend at this point. Now, what I do think is potentially interesting, though, because right now we've seen things like, Bravo specializations and this and that. There is a design space if you're trying to reduce the record keeping for like bans and restrictions. And I don't know that they'll ever even do this. This might be too far, but there is room for a Bravo Showstopper specialization.
Right.
Versus a star of the show specialization.
Or a Bravo
right?
specialization in general.
Right.
Right.
There's right. Like, we've got generics. We have stuff that are class based. We have stuff that are, element based and talent based and whatever. And then we have hero specific, and then we have legendary hero specific. But what if we were like extra hero specific? It's just another dial, another level or a lever that they could pull or push or whatever, or adjust. So who knows? And I mention this because this is the other piece that I think that if you are somebody who is panicking about this right now, you have to understand this is literally our first banned and restricted announcement ever. Not just for Living Legend, but we went from BNS to BNR. This is our first ever. It won't be the last. They can tweak things as needed. They can adjust it. I have hope for the future because, again, right now, James on Twitter today has been saying things like Living Legend is the place for players to do powerful things. And again, if you're coming from Magic and you're drawing parallels, it's going to be the vintage. That doesn't mean that there still won't be a place. Like, if your favorite hero hits Living Legend, but it's not on the same level of power as the most powerful stuff in Flesh and Blood, but it just hit Living Legend because it was a byproduct of an existing meta at a time, I am positive that there will be a format at some point where your hero will still fit in. The goal is to have people still enjoy playing their favorite heroes. They know that that's a selling point of the game, and they are not going to slaughter the cash cow in front of us all.
Nope.
So it might, this is the thing with Flesh and Blood. It might not be what you want to hear now, but if LSS has shown me anything over these past X number of years, it's that they get there eventually. They say, listen to us, trust us. And then a year later, the things I asked for show up
right in front of you.
So right now, they have earned enough of my respect and trust that even if I don't think this is a perfect solution or even the most elegant solution, I know that this is also the Band-Aid, right? This is them doing this before the holidays, leading into the new year. This is not carved in flesh or stone. This is adjustable.
Yeah, that's 100% true. And the position that we've always taken is always been big trust with LSS. I say it a lot. It's just big trust. They've made mistakes. Sure. That's a company. They're not trying to do bad by people intentionally. They just make mistakes. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
And there are fucking people running this company, then running this game. It isn't anything other than that. They're just mistakes. And they have been very quick to rectify them. The other, I guess, portion of this kind of comes back to the old vendor analogy of you shear the sheep, you do not slaughter them. And in this case, it's not meant to sound as derogatory as it does but it's meant as an analogy. They are here to make money, but there are good ways that engage and reward your player base to make money. And then there are ways that alienate your player base to make money. I give you the Doctor Who set of Magic the Gathering, which I think Dom was in our Discord and said it best earlier today. The minute that I'm having to block with the 13th Doctor I'm out. And I'm like, sure, that makes sense. That's not what LSS is about, or to this point, that's not what LSS is about. I'm not saying that 20 years from now, which in of itself is a fucking crazy thing to think about. Because just a year ago, we were going, I think this game might be able to succeed. And now we're talking about 10 years from now like it's a foregone fucking conclusion. Do you understand the mental leap that takes to just say, yep, 10 years from now, Flesh and Blood will still be here, and believe it wholeheartedly? Do you get that is such a major leap? Because everybody that takes this game and plays this game seriously, which we have seen is not a small number, feels the same way. And the health of this game is largely going to be predicated on Classic Constructed. And that makes sense. That's their flagship. That's the format of formats for Flesh and Blood. But the fact that they had the foresight to go, we're going to create this system that removes heroes from the meta rather than rotating, and then eventually we'll be able to have a format that re-includes these heroes so that our previously franchised players from every generation of Flesh and Blood can continue to play the decks that they loved when they started. That is incredible foresight. Whether or not that you understand that or that you've thought about that, I mean, that was one of the first things I noticed about the Living Legend board is I looked at it and went, oh shit, this is a format. And people are like, no, it's a retirement home. I'm like, no, this is legacy. This is how you do it. This makes sense. And then as Derek just pointed out, what's to stop it? What's to stop it and say that there isn't a format that's the first 10 years of Flesh and Blood? Who's to say? That's probably 15 years from now.
They could listen. There's so many things that they could do. They could do time periods. They could do
story arcs. They could do story arcs.
They could do like talentless formats,
sure,
where it's just
great.
Like only class only. So no elements, no light, no shadow. They could do, talent only, right? So you can't run a generic hero. They can do block stuff. God,
please give me block.
Right? Like it's the, classic constructed, but it's only, Tales of Aria era sort of thing.
So Tales Everfest. Because
that's all powerful stuff anyway, right? But also still in a microcosm. Like there's so much stuff that they could do. I'm not worried about it. They'll figure it out. Like
if they did a block, if they did a format that was like, okay, this is only WTR Arc Crew. Sign me up. I'd play the shit out of that. Just be fun as fuck. I honestly think that people who are seeing this as a negative are being myopic. They're only seeing in front of their nose and nothing else. They are not looking at the continued health and diversity that all of these things can include eventually. Now, this is coming from somebody. The thing I hate the most in games is errata. The card should fucking do exactly what the card says it should do. Full stop. The thing that I hate the second most is actually restrictions, because it's a labor on the player's part. It's very hard for a player to go, okay, this card's legal, put it in my deck, and then somebody to go, oh, you already played one of those, you can only have one. That's an extra step a person has to take in deck building. Now, luckily, places like FaB are great and will tell you, no, hold up. You only get one of those. But if you're not using that as a resource, which not everybody would, that's on you, by the way. It's more difficult, and that's why I don't like restriction. However, the more that restriction becomes the norm in these hyper-powered formats, the people who are looking to play these hyper-powered formats will understand that restriction's part of the game. That's how it works in Magic. There are tons of restricted cards in Vintage. It just is what it is. You understand you can only play one of them, you move on. And that's more what this points to, is that type of reaction. And I think that that makes a ton of sense. Like, let's build this house now and bake in the understanding. Now, if they start restricting cards in Classic Constructed, I'm going to be way more critical than I am right now. I will probably flip a ton of shit. But I think for Living Legend, this makes sense. We also have Daddy's home and is on Twitter talking about these things. So somebody, Dylan from TCG Talk, I don't know if he listens to this or not. I guess I don't really keep enough track. But he said, now we have restrictions that hurts perfectly suitable heroes like Bravo and Icelander. Based off the wording, it seems like the main purpose of some restriction was Starvo. If you need that many restrictions to balance a single hero, just ban the hero. And James fired back because that's what he does. And he says, the sooner you get past thinking that every hero has to be viable in LL, the better. And it's like, yeah, daddy, talk harder. And then it was, LO's the format for the most powerful things in FaB to exist. That is Starvo. Which no one can argue that point.
Not really.
And then he says, fact, the most common answer by a huge margin when I asked players at Worlds what they're most looking forward to, it was getting to play Starvo again. Yes, he's hugely powerful. He's also hugely loved, which is just a fact. So many people started playing this game in the Starvo era. So many. And the people that stuck around afterwards have been going the entire time, me included. Man, I fucking would love to sleeve up Starvo again. It's fun. It's a good time. And I understand if it's not a good time for the opponent, but from the casino side of the board, the Starvo Mirror is is single-handedly my favorite game of Flesh and Blood. Just absolutely without question. I love playing a Starvo Mirror because it's thought-provoking, it's intense. You have to keep track of your own work and what they're doing. It is
Pitch stack.
Oh my God. It is so difficult to navigate. And that is one of those instances where the player that knows their hero the best is going to win. And it's so rewarding. You win a Starvo Mirror, you fucking earned it. And that matters. Like, there's no world that doesn't matter in. So my perspective of this is good. I am glad that they're taking time. They could just as easily turn a blind eye and say, fuck it, it's the LL format. We're not going to use it for anything. It's just for people to play in a sandbox. We don't give a shit. Instead, they're telling us that no, the Living Legend format matters. We want it to matter. And we're going to make changes so that it does matter. That is such a huge leap to take. Not only for players, but for collectors, for people who are sitting on cards like Marvel Starvos and going, man, LSS just told me that card is playable forever, effectively. And that's confidence. That's consumer confidence. That's player confidence. That's everything you need. I only see this as a positive, even though I despise restrictions. I mean, this soapbox is getting really weak, so I don't think I can stand it on much longer. Derek, you got anything else to add?
Yeah, I like it.
You like it?
I like it.
You like it?
Like a lot? Something new. It's not something new to add, but
hey,
still,
like, liking it is better than not liking it, in my opinion.
Right.
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 Right. So we do get, we're going to go over the January Armory kit really quick, which we kind of already knew because distributors shit the bed and sent these out early. So we kind of already knew this, but just to make it official, we do get the Banksy cold foil. So if you ever wanted a cold foil wrench in your life, which who doesn't, you can get one in January. The extended art rainbow foil promo is Gas Up, which, okay. Back on the soapbox for a minute. Hey, LSS. Love you, love what you do. If I didn't, I wouldn't have done this for 107 fucking weeks in a row. However, let's talk about Armory promos, kids. Can you give us playables? Is that...
I mean, they do sometimes.
There's some bones when they throw them to us. Like, it is... feels like slim pickings. And if you want to draw...
I mean, you know, it's like we got Macho Grandes and other stuff in the
That's Everfest.
past.
That's over a year ago.
I know. I'm just saying, like, we have got them. The Thunderquakes were armories too, right? I know that was
Still
also
over a year ago.
I'm just saying.
So here's the thing. Like, let's just call a spade a spade.
Like, this should have been Gas Guzzler.
Sure.
Because then that's at least something you can put in as a popper if you're running a 6-attack one. You know what I mean? Like,
so let's say that we take away this being extended art rainbow foil gas ups. And instead we make this extended art rainbow foil ravenous rabbles with the Sawardi art. How do you think that impacts armory attendance?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got no fault in the logic.
And what's stopping them from saying, okay, armory here, cold foil at the callings?
Future plans, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what their inner workings are, but I see what you're saying.
Right.
Like
if you want to increase your player base and get more armory attendance, make it fucking worthwhile. The thematics, I get it. I like it, but it doesn't have to cascade all the way down. I love the draft bling weapons. Absolutely adore it. I love the connected playmats. Totally makes sense. If you take that extended art rainbow foil spot and make it something people actively want, you will increase attendance. And as someplace that in the summers sees attendance basically fall off a goddamn cliff because it's warm outside and people are waiting until it's fucking frigid, it makes a world of difference. So yeah, I get that you want to entice people to come to callings. You could just do that with a cold foil. Make these something that people want to chase, because that will impact things. And you used to do it. That's the problem, is that it used to be a thing. You pointed out Macho Grande and Thunderquake, Brother in Arms. These were all playable. Polar Blast. Weave Lightning. Like, there were so many of these that were real cards that were actually in the sets too. And you could still do that. So either we as a player base are missing something and these are playable, but universally speaking, we've all missed it. That doesn't seem likely. Or the choices need to be dialed up to something that people actually want / need. That's my criticism. If you think it's unfair, go fuck yourself.
Too bad.
Yeah. The playmats are Circuit Breaker, which is gorgeous because why wouldn't it be? And the Bright Light's just regular base playmat. So the Circuit Breaker playmat is totally chase though, because it's a Wardy. But the Bright Lights base playmat is also kind of cool. I already have one. I would just give it away. I think I actually gave the other one away too. Moving on so that we can actually close this show eventually. Eventually. We did get a new card. I am still wrapping my head around this one. But it is another Sonata. Apparently, we sing a lot.
Yeah.
But this one is Sonata Galaxia, or as Lady Armada calls it, tie-dye headache, which I guess was also the name of Red Zone Rogue's post-hardcore band. Which okay, you can get it though. You can look at it and kind of understand where you get tie-dye headache, right?
Yeah, no, I get it. It makes sense to me.
Yeah. But at any rate, this is a red pitch XX cost block for 2. This costs 1 pitch less to play for each rune chant you control, which just bakes Bloodsheath Scalata into the card. And then it search your deck for Runeblade Aura with cost X or less. Put it into the arena, then shuffle. If X is 2 or more, then this gets go again. So not only can this just be a 0 cost non-attack go again, it also goes and fetches up something. I feel like, personally, this is busted in Living Legend.
Yeah. I mean, when you're trying to set up your Bloodsheath stuff, this gets you a lot of value. Being a non-attack, not popping any of your existing rune chants, letting you fetch more rune chant engines feels really strong. There is a part of me that wonders if this is also meant to support or further enable Vincent to some degree, because a lot of her like key attacks or more iconic attacks really do depend on you having some number of rune chants, and so this gives you yet another way to build that count without developing, into it in a way that's going to like necessarily come back to haunt you. But I don't know. The Vincent's still like a hard one for me to crack, but this feels very Bloodsheath Skeleton enabler, but everything does. So
yeah, the fact that this is specifically looking for an aura is probably the part that is the most like nerve-wracking, because your current Runeblade auras are Blessing of the Occult, Bloodspill Invocation, in Vincent you could get James of Mephistus. You could go get Runeblood Incantation, which is probably the normal target. You can go get Runeblood Barrier, which would just be create 4 rune chants, which isn't so bad. You could go get Sting of Sorcery, which is pretty good. And I believe that's it. So, a Looming Doom. That's the other one. So it's not a ton of targets for this that make a lot of sense. But Looming Doom is a hell of a target, because when it's destroy all rune chants, and if you have a ton of them in play, you just stack them on Looming Doom and then just watch it blow up your opponents while you block forever. I feel like that this is, much like the expansion slot has been, a precursor of things to come.
it feels that way.
We do have that all arcane set coming, which will probably feature some amount of Runeblade bullshit.
Yeah, there's that. We also, we know at some point we're going to get another chain too, and we don't know what that chain's going to look like. I know that everyone assumes it's going to be blood debt related, and I'm sure that will still be a part of it, but they might not go as all in on the, like, you're going to soul shackle half your deck and play all the blood debt stuff. And this feels like it could fit potentially. It's hard, obviously, to know without seeing future cards, but this does feel a bit like laying the foundation for something in the future.
Yeah, just more later. This again, this going and getting a Looming Doom is a lot, especially if you've generated, 8+ rune chance or whatever. That's 16 damage sitting on a Looming Doom.
Right.
Like, that's the definition of non-zero. So it's not like this is pointless right now, but it feels like it's very narrow right now. And I love that they're going different directions with the card designs on these Sonatas. But on the same token, they're definitely building to something different. We're not seeing the full effect of this card yet. And honestly, that terrifies me. In in Viscerai, in Living Legend, this is absolutely terrifying. Because the card may as well read, make 4 free rune chance for your go off turn. Which is just a hardcore fuck. Because you just go get Rune Blood Barrier, make 4 rune chance, and then pop for Sonata. Like, this card in LL Viscerai is stupid. Like, it's just Sonata o'clock.
Yeah, it seems pretty good.
Yeah. Like, this is a scary card that makes me want to build that deck. Especially with no Warmonger, with one more Warmongers per deck, so you're not just like super worried about it. You see it pitched early and you just have impunity to go nuts. Feels pretty good. Like, I would do that. But in Classic Constructed, this, I don't think it's really there yet, except for maybe in Vincent. It might have some juice in Vincent that I'm not seeing. Probably not in Blitz because it's just too slow.
So one of the reasons that I was also kind of thinking about future chain stuff, because again, we don't know what it's going to look like, but fetching something like Dimensional Crossroads makes sense too.
This can't fetch Crossroads, right?
I thought it could fetch Runeblade Auras.
Oh yeah, I guess it can. Yep. It can
and there were versions of chain that like put an emphasis on Crossroads for a bit. So depending on whatever new chain looks like that's another thing that is kind of on my mind,
Yep, that's basically, you need to make sure you play all of your Blood Debt every turn, and then Dimensional Crossroads kills them. It also can go, but like, that's very specific to a degree. But if the new chain is less beholden to Blood Debt, yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, because Crossroads is something that it kind of like fell off the radar just because it's really bad in Vincent, right?
Right. It's terrible in Vincent because it just doesn't work.
But there were, versions of chain that used to run them like in the sideboard, or they had a Crossroads plan.
Yep.
And
in the Katsu heavy meta is when you just set your soul shackles at like 2. And so making sure you can play your entire Banish Zone. And then you just let 1 or 2 of these sit out there, because the Katsu decks back then didn't play any AB into chain, and you just watch them die. That's basically what the card was there for. So yeah, it's possible. I could see that. I don't think that's a bad plan, especially if the new chain has some form or fashion of ability to clear their Banish Zone, sort of post haste. I don't know. To me, this seems like a card for another world. That's where I got with this.
Yeah. Some might even say another galaxy.
Okay. Is it a black galaxy? Is that where you're going with this?
No, it's a Galaxia.
Are you happy when you see my soul leave my body?
Yeah, actually I am.
Great.
Basically, anytime that I can see Casper leave your soul, or in better days, it's like literally Ghost Dad. There's just like
ooh, I'm not Bill Cosby, sir.
There's a translucent Bill Cosby standing behind you.
No,
if I can see you doing pottery with Demi Moore, like, I'm just happy. Like
You fucker.
what I'm hoping is someday I'm gonna have to like contact Whoopi Goldberg to send you a message.
Oh my God. All I can think of is the Righteous Brothers now, and that scene in Ghost. Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I think I'm ready to be done. Are you ready to be done?
I think so. Yeah. I almost made you choke on your drink and actually turned you into a ghost. So we should probably
I
be
would
done.
have welcomed the change. Just going to go ahead and put that out there. Let's thank some Patreons. They're patrons. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. Let's thank our
Lance good thrust.
Not
Oh, sorry.
yet. Not yet.
Ooh, premature Lance good thrusting happening.
You came early.
I'm a premature good thruster.
You're a premature good thruster. Our associate producers are Alex, Andy, C-Dubs, Cindra, Donnie K, Kenny, May, the Salty Sea Cat, Alex. Or no, not Alex. Alex is better than that. Yeah, fuck me. Our executive producers on up are Alex, Blaze Storm. Hold on, this is filtered incorrectly. I need to fucking fix this. Hey, there we go. We did it right this time. I've been drinking. Everybody before, you're cool. Executive producers are Blaze Storm, Dom. Okay, time to stretch it out. Get ready. You ready? You ready? Derek, are you ready?
I'm still trying to stretch it out.
You got to stretch it out if you want a Lance good thrust. Matt Two Tokes, valued member of the Patreon, pox on us. Papo Mike, not just a valued member of the Patreon, a valued member of humanity who is currently casking whiskey for us for Hartford, which is the most dangerous thing I can think of. Philip, Rich, Taylor, and Trevor, if you are interested at all in becoming a patron of Flesh and Pod, you can go to patreon.com/Flesh and Pod. The link is in the show notes. We have 6 tiers to choose from. Any paid tier, any of them, will get you access to the FaB After Dark episodes, which are kind of, I think I'm going to go with Derek's take on this, and they are a safe space. They are a place for us to express exactly what we want, whenever we want, and it extends across the board. You can enjoy those episodes with myself, Derek on occasion, as well as Bryn from the Banished Zone and super producer Greg, who are potentially as degen or more degen than I am. So take that for what you will. If you need to contact the show for any reason, which I don't know why you would, you can always reach out to us at fleshandpod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at FleshPod. The link is in the show notes. You are also welcome to leave a comment on YouTube. And we need that. I mean, honestly, people, bump that subscriber number up. I'm going to start streaming on that channel, and nothing is as big of a train wreck as me doing anything on a stream. It is fucking stupid because I am terrible at most things. So even if I'm playing Across the Obelisk, which is a blast to play, it's probably bad because it's like a deck builder combined with Darkest Dungeon, combined with Slay the Spire, combined with punching a baby. So I'm bad at all these things. One, I think babies are kind of cute once they get past newborn stage. And Slay the Spire has caused me some headaches. Darkest Dungeon is the only game in history that's made me break a mouse. I actually threw a mouse at a wall and shattered it because one of the character I was leaning on the fucking hardest decided to gain some disorder that sent them on walkabout, and I no longer had them. They didn't die. They just fucking left me. So my abandonment issues all kicked up, and suddenly I lost the thing that was helping. And so I got pissed. I threw my mouse at a wall and then had to pay for another one. So that happened. It wasn't even Dark Souls. It was fucking Darkest Dungeon. Charmer, where can they find you?
Don't you dare say
next week. Don't you dare say next week.
Why?
Because no, don't put that on me.
What? You can find me next week. Do you not want me to be around next week?
I don't want to be around next week.
But you said earlier you were the only one of your friends that wanted to be happy.
Kill me now.
No.
But why?
Because I want to see your soul leave your body week after week, not just one time.
Oh my God. Fine.
This is like my murderous rampage, but with edging.
You're edging my death?
Yeah, pretty much. I love that I have killed you a lot tonight. I've seen more laughter out of you than I thought was possible. So clearly you have gone off the deep end. But
it's deep. It's not playable. It's just deep.
And it's also the end of this episode. We love you all. You can see me in the Discord, on the Twitter, on Blue Sky, Twitch, YouTube, on Wampa Radio as well. Like if you want to cover other card games, or even if you're not in the Flesh and Pod Discord, you can plod around other Discords and probably find me there. That's where I was going. But listen, it's 1:09 a.m. where I'm at. So
yeah,
I get a pass.
Yeah, if you need to find me, the Discord's the best place. Remember, you do not need to be a patron to join the Discord. It is open to all. We've had a couple of new members recently, which is great. But the other side of this is also watch out, because if you didn't notice, because you are for some reason not subscribed to any of our feeds, we did release an audio only episode with Keith and Jacob Barsham from The Realm. They talking about the 2024 Realm Circuit. So if you are interested in that type of thing, and you fucking should be, because $50,000, you should definitely listen to that episode. It is, I mean, we were going to include it in this episode as just a tack on, and then it went for 40 minutes. So we just did it as its own thing. So was released before this. So if you're listening to this but didn't hear that, you should go back and listen to that, which was recorded on the same day as this, which is why we sound exactly like the way we sound now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like this and like that and like this and oh, listen.
It's like this, and who gives a oh, you know what? We're not going to quote Suit Dog today. That's all I got. I mean, I am spent. So I hope you all enjoyed 107 weeks of our bullshit. Charmer's going to drag me to number 108. Then he's probably going to make me record on a fucking boat for 109. This is some bullshit.
Here's the thing. We will probably do that because we may or may not have drinks involved with also being able to get some live guests. So like if we can film in person together with Flake and or some of the other people that are going to be there.
We probably should. Like it probably is irresponsible.
We literally, it might just be a boat party episode, and that's okay.
We on a boat, motherfucker, getting nautical here.
Some people might say that episode has the potential to go overboard.
Are you talking about the Goldie Hawn Kurt Russell vehicle overboard?
Yeah, the one that has like the really strong rapey vibes that don't hold up and when you watch it.
Oh, it's
like, what is it, 40 years later now? But
30
something, yeah.
6? I'm looking this up in real time.
Yeah, it was like mid 80s or whatever, right?
Overboard movie. 87.
Yeah, see, I was close.
So, I was dead on. 36.
My mom loved that movie.
36, baby. God, I'm fucking good. All right. There's a 2018 remake that no one talks about, because why would you? Yeah, I think he shivered. So that's it, everybody. I am leaving I'm shuffling my mortal coil right now. I'll be back later though. So on behalf of myself and Derek, you're not my real dad, Oswald, we will talk to you all. God fucking damn it, next week. Bye.